Trustee Case,
Present.
Trustee Markle,
Present.
Trustee Olivas. A quorum is present.
Thank you. On to item number 2, public comment. Members of the public who wish to address the Library Board of Trustees may come forward and speak on any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Library Board. We don't have anybody here. We don't have a phone, so I think we're done with item number 2. Okay. Item number 3. Okay, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? May I have a motion to approve?
I will move to approve the minutes of the November 14th, 2024 meeting of the Carson City Library Board of Trustees as presented.
I'll second it.
Do we need to have any discussion on it?
I didn't.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4. Item number 4, I want to take these out of order if you don't mind. Okay. We will push the calendar down to last, actually. And I really wanted the 2 items. Let's see, look at item number B. The policy of the Carson City Library, the bylaws and our policy. What I kind of wanted to do was have this on here for possible discussion so we can talk about what our policy is and talk about the fact that the bylaws have not been updated for a very long time. I don't expect a vote tonight because not everybody is here, and you may want to take some time to look at it, but if you do want to discuss it and vote on it, we can certainly do that. But I wanted to bring to everybody's attention that the bylaws that we have, again, have not been updated for a very long time.
They were updated in 2021,
Were
in
they?
June of 2021.
The one copy I have says it hasn't been updated like since 2017 or something.
The copy I attached is approved on June of 2021.
I'm glad you found a newer one.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. If you got that from me, I apologize. This is the only one I have saved anymore, as to avoid that.
Nice. Okay.
So the
thank you.
standard practice is every 3 to 5 years to revise.
Okay. Well, that's good. We don't have to then do that tonight, do we?
Well, unless we want to.
Was there a particular, I mean, I did read through them. Was there a particular item that you feel is missing or no longer relevant? Or was there something about the bylaws other than the age that stood out to you?
Yeah, there was actually a couple of things that stood out to me in the bylaws. One of them says that we are to submit the annual budget and work to secure adequate funds to finance requested library services. And the second part I understand, because part of our responsibilities is to, look for grants or outside funding if possible. But we do not submit an annual budget. Carson City, am I correct? Carson City sets the budget?
Correct.
So I don't understand why we need to have this in our bylaws.
Because not every municipality functions like this municipality does.
Correct, but we're talking about our bylaws.
Oh,
These are our
well,
bylaws.
it's tricky because if we want to, if we're going to use or ask for, if we're going to use gift funds, for example, that is very specific that the board, per statute, should be involved in the spending from the gift fund, which I've always kept it below $500. So because the statute gives the director that discretion to, if it's under $500, to not run it by the board.
Correct, but that's not what it says. It says submit the annual budget. We don't do that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about Article 7, duties of the Board of Trustees. And if you go down to the middle, it says submit the annual budget and work to secure adequate funds to finance the requested library services. I can see work to secure adequate funds, but we do not submit an annual budget. Carson City sets the budget.
if I may, we do submit at the time of the budget submission that they've provided, that they've said, this is your budget. We do submit either supplemental requests or capital and improvement requests if we have them.
Okay.
And those two things we would certainly discuss beforehand. I would bring that information to y'all and say,
Okay.
these are the capital improvement projects that I'm going to be putting forth in front of the Board of Supervisors and Finance to approve or not approve. And then here are the supplemental requests that I'm going to be putting in front of the Board of Supervisors for approval. So in that sense, this measure obligates all of us to be involved in that process as it relates to the budget for the general fund.
Would it be more appropriate to put that the board reviews and approves the budget as opposed to submits the budget?
Well, no, because this board doesn't have the authority to review, or you have the authority to review it, but the approval for that budget comes from the city.
Sorry, maybe I just kind of misunderstood. So you were talking about we need to approve certain aspects of the budget. So I was,
Well, you don't have to per statute, but because of this bylaw, that information is always brought in front of the board, and that's how most libraries do it. Does that make sense? So if we
I
had,
just think the language is,
So you would ask our
Unclear.
opinion in the matters of like the capital improvement, or you would tell us, here's what I think, and we
Yes,
would have a
and we would
discussion on it.
discuss
And then
it.
if we were all in agreement
Right.
with you, that is what you would take to the city as our request for
Right.
the capital improvement
Right.
project. So those aspects of the budget, we have input on as far as what we propose.
right,
Yeah?
and yes, exactly. And the reason why this language specifies submitting a budget is because that's what the statute specifies.
okay.
But the statute is trying to encompass the manner in which every different municipality might do their budget. So the way that our budget is, we don't have a use it or lose it. We're a line item budget with a zero base after that amount that they've allotted to us. Whereas the state, you have to go and sing for your supper from the get, from the start of it. So you actually really do, as is everyone who has worked for the state, you actually do have to submit a budget that is asking for them to approve, but they already have it's a done deal. The only thing that that I do as it relates to the general fund budget is if I see that we're going to be low in one fund, if I think, we probably need to move some money from this line item to another line item, just for good accounting practice and cleanliness of the budget, that the reports I put up for you guys, I can do that with a journal entry myself.
Right. You don't, right.
Yeah, so long as I don't exceed the bottom line, I can move money around from line item to line item.
It's not a hill I want to die on. I just don't like the language.
We can change it.
I think part of what Joy's trying to say is that with all the different libraries in the state, there are some libraries where the library director has to submit a budget to the,
Correct, but this is not a template. This is like our bylaws.
okay.
So that's just what I'm saying. I'm not sure why it matters what other libraries do when we're looking at our bylaws.
and
But
it's listed as a duty of the board
Correct.
to,
If I may, and I think we need to understand the difference between what is mandated under the statute, under Chapter 379 as duties of the board, and actually what can be done via bylaws. So bylaws deal mostly with procedural issues, such as when the board meets, you know, if one of them is the parliamentary authority, which is Robert's Rules of Order. And those are all listed in here, but what is mandated under the statute takes priority over the bylaws that exist. And what I'm seeing here is under Article 7, duties of the board, is basically a recitation of what is required of the board to do pursuant to NRS Chapter 375. So I don't see how we can deviate from what is required. And what Joy indicated is we are a county library, so we have certain requirements, and one of them is to submit annual reports to the Board of Supervisors for approval, and this is something that you would have to do because it's required under the statute. This is not word by word.
Yeah, but it is
But
fairly.
is what I think was the intended purpose of the bylaws. I do agree with you that they are confusing, and it's not adding a new requirement of this board, because ultimately, as I stated, bylaws only deal with procedural issues, not with substantive duties that you have.
So we could completely scrap this whole section if I'm hearing you correctly, because it's all of this.
You could.
Because it's, so long as we're following this statute. I mean, really, this is a reiteration of the statute, is what you're saying, right? With a few,
Yes.
it's with a few switches, but it mostly is a reiteration of 379.025. And we know it doesn't need to be in our bylaws for us to have to follow that, in order
That is
for us to
correct.
properly follow it.
I mean, it's useful to have it in there as long as it is accurate and it doesn't describe some
Yeah, it doesn't
duties
go
that
rogue.
do not exist.
Well, maybe we can rewrite the beginning of it to kind of as per.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the 379.025 maybe was after the words duties of the board,
Right.
it would appear that the statute applied to all 7 items below it, and that's kind of the reason that they're there. Though this, from an outsider's perspective, looks kind of like item 1 and item 7 are from that, but everything else is there just because we put it there.
Correct.
Got you.
And
And
so
that's how I.
that maybe it would just be more clear if it was, that the whole section was kind of
So you-
guidance from that.
What do you
statute.
think of this language? Duties of the board in compliance with 379.025, NRS 379.025.
Yeah, I feel like that tells you that everything underneath it then is from our statutes, and that's kind of why it's there.
Right.
Okay,
That would make more sense.
okay. That's easy.
Because I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense then if I knew that
Yeah.
it was for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the purpose of us talking about this today is to, make these most clear.
So yeah, that was the only thing is I was looking at that and then the next one because we have nothing to do with buildings and grounds. But if it's in the NRS, then we just leave the language alone. But
I'm
just-
sorry, which one are you referencing?
I'm sorry. So if you go down to the next paragraph, it says through the librarian supervise and maintain buildings and grounds. Like,
Oh,
we're
okay.
still in Article
That was
7. still-
Subsection 4.
Right, right, right.
Article
So that
7.
was confusing too because I thought, well, don't do any of that.
Okay,
But again, that's part of then the NRS.
right, and this also has to do with those libraries that are so small they don't have a buildings and grounds or facilities department to help them maintain the inside and outside of the building. So again, this is meant to try and cover all of those bases. So we are in a situation where, through me, I supervise and maintain buildings and grounds and review the physical and building needs and work with facilities and with Parks and Rec to make sure that what needs to get done with the exterior and interior of the building is done. So,
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for clarifying that. So do we need to make a motion to put NRS 379.25 next to Board of Trustees, or can we just And that's not really an amendment, or is it an amendment?
Well, I think the way we agendized this item, we were not making amendments at this point to the bylaws. This was basically for discussion and a discussion as to whether you would like to entertain amendments in the future, and also regarding the process of establishing those amendments. For example, you can have a discussion today and direct the library director to prepare a draft based on the discussion that is held today to bring at a future meeting. And at that point, you may make an amendment, a motion to amend the bylaws. And I believe, Chair, that this is what you were indicating at the beginning of this meeting, that you are not inclined to amend the bylaws
Not
today,
tonight.
but to have a presentation of the bylaws as they stand and create a process to have those amended if the board decides that it's appropriate to do so in the future. Does it make sense?
Kind of, yeah. No, it does make sense. So can we just ask Joy to,
So one motion that you may make today is whether to, I move to start the process of amending the bylaws. That could be one motion that you could make, or the other one could just be to not make a motion at all, and we will just table this item and not make any amendments this year. Or
okay, so even
so
if,
if you'd like to discuss further whether you would like to have this amended in the near future.
Well, and I did put a suggested or a proposed motion
Motion.
in there that you could, with the expectation that we would be talking about it, and that I would go forth and make changes after we've had a discussion, and then bring those back for you to approve and look at.
would we like her to change the heading so that it's clear?
It feels to me like that's not enough of a big change to justify a complete overhaul. Like maybe we want to, I don't know. I'm like, did we adequately, I don't, maybe we want to all like look at it closer and see if there's any other things so that we catch everything if we're going to go to the trouble of changing it for that one little thing and then do a formal update and we're good for another 3 to 5 years.
Well, we,
To me, I'm like, it feels a little nitpicky to make that change just for that,
right.
but.
I just want to be clear that we can change them at any time. It doesn't have to
Right.
be 3 to 5 years. We can do
Yeah,
it next year if
but
we
I mean,
want.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. And it's at our discretion as to when we want to make any changes to bylaws or policies. So it's not as if we have any sort of legal deadline to meet.
Okay.
Or tell me you don't care and we'll just move on.
I mean, now that I understand it, it seems more clear to me. I don't think it's a huge pressing matter.
Oh, I don't either. Like I said, it's not a hill I want to die on. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I agree. It seems a pretty minor deal. Okay.
So at this point, if somebody wants changes to the bylaws as they stand, a motion should be made right now. If nobody wants to make a motion, then you can just move on to the next item, and this is where we'll stand for right now.
I agree. Give me just a second, though.
Joy, is this something that you would, I mean, you said every 3 to 5 years. Is this something that you have thought about bringing up at some point in the next, 2 years? I'm sure you're thinking 2 years in advance.
I
on the
am,
bylaws.
actually.
I mean, do you have a time frame that, say, July of 2025 or whatever?
Yeah.
That we can, spend the necessary time to look
Well,
at this?
truthfully, I was planning on bringing it up when I was able to do a really thorough overhaul of the policies, because there are some really old information in there. For example, it mentions the BRIC, which we have not been affiliated with since, well,
A long time.
7, 8 years. Well, it predates me even in my original incarnation at the Carson City Library. So it needs to be removed. there's a lot of things in there, the Premier card, things like that. But my plan was to make the changes and present my changes, my red line changes, so that you could see what it was and what my changes were, and then we could discuss and change the policies and look at the bylaws at that time. But I'm not, right now, that project is on hold, given the circumstances right now. But that is top priority for me in fiscal '25. I really want to, by the time we're done with our strategic planning process, have the policies updated and squared away. I think that it will really lead to a simplification. That's my hope.
Yeah, I'd like to see the policies be part, redoing them, be part of the strategic plan. I mean,
Right.
definitely.
Well, and they have been, but I would say that the strategic plan is well, obviously, it's much more current, and I just want the policies to align with that. I
correct.
just haven't had, frankly, I just haven't had the time to do it. So I have to make the time. At this point, I've been marinating on it for 2 years, so I could probably just go in there and make those changes.
Well, would it help if we had a motion indicating a time frame, like within the next 6 to 8 months? Would that help you or
Yeah,
hurt you?
having a deadline always works for me. So,
Okay.
I mean, I might get it done at, the 11th hour on the 30th of June, if it's July 1, but I will have it done, yeah. I think that's absolutely helpful, and it does give a hard stop.
Yeah, I think
Here.
sometimes things like this just sort of drift.
They do, yeah, that's very true. And it is something, I mean, by that, I think it's absolutely, my plan was to have it done before the end of fiscal '25, so we could make it June 30th. And then that way, I
Is
can
that
be
the end
working
of
on it
fiscal
through the winter.
25, June 30th?
Yeah, June 30th is the end of fiscal '25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we make a motion, I move to have, to direct Joy, the director, to prepare a presentation on revising the library policies and bylaws by the end of the 2025 fiscal year.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion you want to have?
No, I'm sure that I think my own confusion, but I'm like, wait, but that wasn't an agendized item, but I'm by no means the authority on actually what, how and what this stuff works. That's okay? That's acceptable?
It is. That's exactly what it's agendized. as
Okay,
to
but
whether it's
we're talking
appropriate
about
to
the
have
library policies, not the
amendment.
board policies. We're talking about a totally different set of policies now.
Right, because the the board's policies are the bylaws, and then the policies I'm referencing are the libraries.
Right, so we're
That's-
talking about something that isn't on the agenda, correct?
It's mentioned,
it-
so
it
it,
mentioned?
actually-
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where my confusion was.
Yeah.
It's just I felt like we just veered way over here.
We're not there yet.
Both of them,
Okay.
both of them are included in the agenda title,
Okay, cool.
but you're only moving to direct Joy to make a presentation on the policy, not on the bylaws. That is correct?
Aha, okay.
And that is,
Like two branches of the
Perfectly
same
fine.
thing. Okay, I see now. Thank you.
I thought it was also bylaws. I thought I said policies and bylaws.
What I thought you said too.
Is that okay?
yeah, absolutely.
I think you
Okay.
did, yeah.
And we have a second motion, and now we're discussing it. Is everybody in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? All right, motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to jump over to, item number 4C. Presentation and discussion of library trustee roles and responsibilities. And this actually came up, I'll be quite honest with you, a couple weeks ago, I started going through all of my stuff and started going through our NRSs and reading a lot about more about our roles. And, we have a new library trustee who had asked the question when she first started, how can I be of, help? And we do have some policies um, that, lose my mind, have policies that kind of help direct us, what we do. And Joy and I had talked about the policies. We had lunch and we talked about those. And that's something that really the library director will write up, and then we will review them and vote on them. So we do set policies, but we don't write the policies.
Right, I make the suggestions or propose the policies, and then we discuss.
Right. The other thing that we do is we help plan the future of the library. And I just started jotting down some notes the other night when I was going through all of this. How can I be better at my job? And I think we need to really put some input into the strategic plan, keeping up with library news, even nationwide, to see what's out there, what's going on. Ear to the ground, what do people want for the library? Monitor and evaluate effectiveness of the library. I told myself, go to events, listen to public comments. As a group, we should set maybe some measurables and ask for updates so we know what's going on. And then advocate for the library. Again, go to events, talk the library up to anybody you can. I'm amazed at how many people I talk to. When somebody goes, hey, what are you reading? And I go, hey, did you get that book from the library? Or I don't have anything for my kids to do. Hey, guess what you can do at the library? And then Joy can tell you I'm always on social media reposting whatever the heck they post. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring this up to the front so we can look at it again and go, oh yeah, there's some things that we are responsible for that we should be looking to do. And I didn't know if this is something people wanted to discuss, if you wanted to think about maybe adding or changing, but I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
And this was taken directly from the Nevada State Library's website. There is also, if you'll see here where it says Nevada Library Governance and Public Library Trustees, if you follow the website that's listed at the bottom of each document, you can get to this page and you can take the trustee training. You can get a refresh or you can do it for the first time. So trustee case, that's something that you could look into if you haven't already. And it's digital, it's all digital. So in the past, I would have presented a binder to y'all and said, here's the trustee training for you to then keep, but it's all online now.
And I brought my binder tonight.
You did?
So again, if you don't want to discuss it or anything, that's fine, but I just thought, I found it interesting, and making notes to myself was really kind of helpful to guide me.
Another thing that is helpful for trustees is to follow the Nevada State Libraries. What is it, Joy? Libraries and Literacy, the committee.
Oh, the State Council on Libraries and
Yeah,
Literacy.
State Council on Libraries and Literacy. And usually you can get to that through the state library page because usually they'll have like some agendas, some minutes
Oh, wow, okay.
because that body meets periodically. Maybe it used to be 4 times a year, then 3, might only be meeting 2, I don't know. But it is people from across the state who have been selected by the governor to talk about library and literacy issues in the state. It's not hugely heavy. I don't know that it's hugely powerful, but it's there.
Well, they are powerful insofar as it relates to any sort of funding for competitive grants through the Library Services and Technology Act, because they are the ones who review those
Right,
competitive
grants.
grants. Mhm.
Yeah, the libraries, that's probably their most important um, thing that they do. And when you go to that page, you will be able to see copies of grants that libraries across the state have submitted. And you'll be able to see scores of the libraries and how the grants were ranked. It is, I must admit, I haven't been to it in a while because, with COVID and everything, things sort of got a little messy. And with a new state librarian, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it is, it's a body within the state that should be an advocate for libraries and literacy in a significant way. And there may be people on the board that you'd be surprised. You might say, oh, because usually, I mean, there's a designated, the people who are on the council are designated to come from various agencies. So there's a Dieter person, there's a library trustee person, there's a citizen person, there's several other state agency persons that go to this meeting. So, it's something you might want to keep in mind as you're looking at roles and responsibilities of trustees.
Well, it's probably kind of good also to hopefully give us some ideas of maybe some issues going on in the state. I mean, good and bad. Here's what, we've done over here, but here's where there's some holes.
And
And that would
looking
be
at
good
the
to look
grants,
at it.
looking at the grants is good. And like I said, you might be surprised at who because this is a statewide committee, but the state is fairly small, and you
Right.
may know people who are on this committee that you can advocate and advocate for our library and for the libraries in the state. Because I know whenever I go to any kind of meeting that involves state stakeholders, I always say the state does not allocate enough money for libraries and museums. And to continue to say that to people who are in positions of responsibility, makes sense to me. If they hear it enough, the state does not allocate enough money for museums and libraries.
And we did submit that letter to
Oh,
the
yeah,
state
I know,
librarian.
I know.
And I've not heard anything back.
Right. It's just, it's just like that thing. If you hear a lie often enough, you'll believe it. Now, it's not a lie that the state does not allocate enough money, but it is something that, to keep in people's minds that, oh, Nevada is low in education. We're not at the top of the states in education. Do libraries and museums have anything to do with that? If there was more money for libraries and museums, would that support the educational opportunities that we have in this state?
Yeah, and part of our governor's initiative this budget cycle includes education. So it's kind of good to maybe find out who our state legislatures are. That's the other way you can advocate for the library. Get a hold of them, find out who that is.
I know who
and
they
write
are.
them a letter.
Our state legislators,
Mm-hmm.
Amadei.
Well, I'm saying like the state, local.
Oh, our locals.
Local.
Lisa Krasner and
PK.
PK O'Neill.
Yeah, advocate, write them letters, call them, bug them once a week. Hey, we don't have enough money.
Well, and I did make some inroads with them because we are doing the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and so they came with Senator Rosen's staffers, and Senator Rosen was actually supposed to come to the library, but we kept it very quiet because she had just had some death threats down south, and she ended up not coming because she had another obligation, but her staff came, and then also Catherine Cortez Masto's staff came, and both of them have toured the library in the past, so I do have some connections with folks there. And then I met Lisa Krasner for the first time. I'd met PK O'Neill before, but PK O'Neill lives, I think they both live here.
Mm.
So. Yeah.
You know what it,
No, but that's good. Yeah, there's lots of ways we can advocate for the library. Are we done? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's go on to item A. Discussion and possible action regarding the Carson City Library calendar.
It's very small.
Um,
And that's so that I can fit everything on one page.
What page is it on? Do we have it? Thank you. Like, where is it? There it is.
I'm gonna squeeze it just a little bit more. How's that? Can you guys see that? All right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the print version is microscopic as well. Oh, jeez. Bear with me. I'm not used to using the mouse on my iPad or my laptop. Okay.
So I know that this current calendar year
Mhm.
that we are in, you have done some experimenting with staying open on some more of the more minor holidays when we could close, and doing like targeted programming. And in your opinion, has that been successful and worth continuing, or how do you think that's gone?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I was going to make some suggestions about that. If you'll see at the bottom of the calendar here, I said that this includes remaining open. This calendar actually, and the final total numbers of closures and open include only being open for the Juneteenth and Veterans Day holidays. And my reasoning behind that is because despite having programming for Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, and Nevada Day. So it's probably not a coincidence that those holidays are 3-day weekends. And we just haven't had, we had had half the turnout we had and would have on a normal day. Now, the holidays like Veterans Day and Juneteenth that fall on whatever the day is, like the Veterans Day is the 11th. And it doesn't matter what day that holiday falls on, unless it's a weekend, and then it'll be the following Monday. Or I think, yeah, it's the following Monday. So in that case, but that's not that often. Usually it's going to fall during the week. And whereas those other holidays that I just mentioned always fall on a Monday or a Friday. And so they always result in a 3-day weekend. And we just haven't seen substantial turnout. In fact, for the February President's Day, no one came to the event, or it was minimal. I think there was one person that dipped in, and it was built a log cabin, and we had very little turnout. Martin Luther King Day, same. There were 50% or less. I would say hovering at 50% of our regular door count on those if it were not a holiday. So of our regular Mondays or regular Friday. And Nevada Day was especially low attendance or users.
Well, each year it seems like there's more and more things to do on Nevada Day. You know, family-friendly things to do on
Yeah.
Nevada Day.
And that's the thing. There are more things becoming available on that day before or on Nevada Day. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is the cost to us to remain open. Because when we stay open on these holidays that the rest of the city has off, we have to pay time and a half overtime. It's overtime to anyone who works on that day. So there's an added cost to that. I estimated it's about with salary and benefits. Again, this is just a ballpark because I can never know the exact amount of each person's benefits. Probably $1,000 per day.
Per person or?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, no, total, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Yeah. But it's a substantial amount that we could save not being open those days. Because we just don't have, we stay fully staffed as normal, and we just don't have that many people in the library on those days.
I mean, I think it was a good experiment and we tried it.
Mhm.
And I'm glad we put that out there, but I don't think there's any problem with saying, it makes sense on Juneteenth. It makes sense on Veterans Day. It doesn't make sense on the others. And kind of going back, I think that schedule's not unusual. People would expect it and be familiar with it. I think, we tried.
Right. And I think the staff, it just so happens that in our last staff meeting, which was yesterday, we were talking about some things, a possible program on Martin Luther King Day. And I said, let's time out on that because I am going to be discussing a possible closure on that day. And the staff was like, really? What, really? And they were very happy to have that considered.
Couldn't you still have the programming but do it before? Like
Yeah.
Gearing up to, hey,
Yeah, we would definitely still do the program, but I didn't want to go any further with the conversation because I didn't want to. We can't nail down the date until we here have had that conversation.
right.
So yeah, I definitely think we will do something in recognition of Martin Luther King's birthday that week.
Yes. See, by doing it, things like that, I don't feel like we're losing out on programming. It just doesn't happen on that holiday. But,
Right.
Just like at school, if you're going to school, you're going to elementary school, you're still going to do something to celebrate the holiday. You're just going to be home that day. So,
Right.
I
Well,
don't
and
see
speaking
a
of
downside.
Speaking of Veterans Day, even though I do think we should be open on Veterans Day this year, one of the coolest things that we had was the state Office of Veterans Affairs to come and speak to and be available for veterans to come and find out what's available to them for benefits. But they couldn't come on Veterans Day because the state offices were closed. So they came on the 12th. And shockingly, people complained that we were having them on the 12th and not on actual Veterans Day because they saw our calendar.
Oh.
Yeah. A couple of people phoned our programming and outreach coordinator directly to complain that they thought we should have it on Veterans Day.
So I'm just going to say, as a veteran, as a trained veteran advocate, I'm shocked they didn't have volunteers because there are volunteers who do the same thing. So I'm a little shocked to hear that.
Well, maybe we just didn't ask the right questions. But
Yeah.
they reached out to us at some point and we said, hey, yes, we would love to have you here on Veterans Day. And they said, no, we can't do Veterans Day because we don't have anyone to cover it because the state's closed. So I didn't know to ask about volunteers, but I can certainly do that next time.
Yeah, they have volunteers. I'm one of them, so.
So Nevada Day is not the 31st this year? It's on the 24th of October?
They moved it to the last Friday like a decade ago. Or,
Mm-hmm.
Friday's the 31st. And
I don't
just-
know.
I
I
just-
left it that way because
Last Friday.
I don't know.
I
And
think the problem with doing it that way is then they'd hold the parade in November. Maybe that's why. Because the parade.
oh, you know what? I did look this up, and it is
The,
yeah. I mean, I can Google that really quickly too. Just why not?
no, I mean, I don't think the parade's ever fallen into the first. I wonder if that's why.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just thought it was kind of odd because,
No,
you
it
know,
is the 31st.
so Nevada Day is the 31st.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where I got my information, but that's an easy fix. That's just a change in color coding.
Yeah, because
It's going to become an Easter, a Thanksgiving
It says the
parade.
31st.
And,
Which-
you know, can't you just see it, all those kids being candy fortified on Friday, coming to the parade on Saturday, they'll just be dead. Really?
We always moved trick or treating to the night before the parade until the change, when they observed it.
Oh, when I was growing up, it was on the 31st, no matter what the day of the week was.
Want the drunk drivers in Nevada to
Right.
run over the kids trick or treating.
Right,
Only
right.
Carson City always moved trick or treating to the night before
Mm.
because the revelry and then like little kids all over the streets was not a good.
Well, and maybe if their parents got tied one on too much, they might be not taking the kids to trick or treat. Well, I will say that we did learn some valuable information when we did the parade this year. We're not walking it again. We're going to have some sort of motorized vehicle that we ride in because we were holding people up. We were too slow. So the 31st, I will change that. And that's an easy enough change.
I'm sure you'll check with the city to make, because, you know, it's just kind of confusing to have Halloween, Nevada Day, and, you know, who knows what kind of regulations.
Well, I'm not sure. And I don't have this year's, every year they send out a payment processing schedule for the calendar year. And on that lists the holidays. And so I think they've sent it out to the staff. The new staff have gotten it as part of their orientation packet, but I don't have it. So I will, or it's lost in the you know, my email. So I can find that. But and then we post those throughout I send them out to the staff if they haven't gotten it, and we post it or different places in the library so they know. And it tells you, okay, this is when you're going to get paid, and then it lists the holidays. So,
I'm like, has that happened since they moved?
oh, you Googled it?
Nevada
Weird.
sent out an announcement or whatever.
Because it's the following Saturday. It's November 1st, huh?
And the theme is Wild West.
Well, that could. Hey, does that mean I'm going to be able to wear some fringe? I'm a lover of fringe, a lifelong lover of fringe. All right. Well, and yeah, very good catch. And these errors that you see, I'll try and fix those. But what happens is that when I convert these documents from a Google Sheet to a PDF, it leaves these weird gaps in the lines. So it's really irrelevant. It's cosmetic. And really, I mean, we put this on the staff gets a copy of it and we post it, but it's mostly for us internally to follow and know when we're going to have staff development days. And really what it's about at the end of the day is the open hours. Because sometimes we're not closed on staff development day, or like, for example, we skipped a staff development day because of our deputy director all of that stuff was going on the day we were meant to have a staff development day. And then sometimes switching out, like this year, because of that, we're going to close early on the eves. So the staff don't have to stay at the library until 8:00 on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve.
Is your normal operating hours until 6 p.m. or are you open till 8?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're open until 8. On Mondays and Fridays, we're open till 6. On Saturdays and Sundays, we're open till 4. But we don't open till noon on Sunday. So it's noon to 4 on Sunday.
Do you get a lot of people coming in on Sunday between those hours?
Yeah, sometimes it's a dead zone, but then lately it's been through the summer. Gosh, I worked a Sunday last month maybe, and I was upstairs the whole time, and it was a lot of people. So and that was another thing too about choosing to be, when I was looking at this and thinking about doing that analysis of being closed on these holidays, is that those holiday turnout numbers were less than on a Sunday when we're open only 4 hours. So that was also a factor in my suggestion that we close on those holidays because we just don't have the turnout.
Okay, so just so we can vote on this, can you tell us what it is that you would like, what changes from last year that you would like to make in 2025?
Okay. I would like to, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because I put on a staff report what motion you should be making or suggested motion. So what I would like, this says 2024, but it should say 2025. I would like to approve the library calendar as is, the 2025 Carson City Library calendar as presented, with the modification of changing the holiday that's the October 31st, like Nevada Day changed. Does that make sense? So right now, what?
So you would like to just, so
Sorry.
you would like to just be open the 2 holidays? I think that's what I'm asking you also, to clarify.
Right, I would like to be open, remain open only for the Juneteenth and Veterans Day holiday. And with the modification of changing, because right now the calendar as it is reflects that.
Okay.
So I would need, we put in with the modifications made on record, and we have identified the modification that I need to make is I need to correct the color coding.
For Nevada Day.
Right, right.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, what you're ultimately approving is the number of hours that we're open and are closed. Does that make sense? So,
I mean, I think I will make a motion to approve the 2025 Carson City Library calendar with only one modification from presented, which is to correct Nevada Day from the 24th to the 31st.
I second that.
Do we need any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the 2025 calendar with the modification of the color coding on October 31st. Then that means we're moving on to item number 5. And that's the library director reports.
sorry, y'all. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the general fund budget as presented?
Didn't you say something was going to look different?
The gift fund will look different, and the grant, once the augmentations that I've submitted are reflected, which will happen in about February, and there's an explanation of that in my report because I outlined some specifics about how the budget works.
Okay.
So once those funds are pulled forward or carried forward, then the gift fund will show, because right now you can see in the gift fund where we're, we've, like the percentage of what we've spent from our collection from the Friends of the Library. Well, that amount is high because of we're spending money against the donation made by the Friends, but our budget doesn't reflect that until after the augmentations are done. So, and the city knows those augmentations are coming, and they know that the money, because they have the money in hand, but they only do the carry forward twice a year. So, to put it most frankly, these numbers are not accurate because we have way more money available to us than this. But how it works is the city gives us a certain amount of money each year to start with. And then we augment at the appropriate time. And the augmentations always take place in the first round always take place in November. And the grants. So the grant money is in hand as well, but it's the grant fund budget spreadsheet like this will not reflect that until those augmentations are completed. Any questions, or shall I move on to the director's report?
I think you can move on.
Okay. So we do still have one senior library assistant that's posted, one that's going to have it's pending, but we can pull both, because we've had the one open, we can select from that candidate pool for both, because the way that the posting is written is that these applications are to the effect of, this is two positions. So when people apply, they know that we've got two openings, if that makes sense. So what I have to do is send over a job requisition to the Human Resources Department to post that second senior library assistant position. And then that will leave us with just the workforce development and social services coordinator to fill once we get these two senior library assistants positions filled. So, and we've got a couple of, we've had a staff member apply internally, and some other really good outside candidates. So, and we have two positions to fill. So, and then with programming and outreach, Santa's going to be here on Saturday. And myself and Haley, our programming and outreach coordinator, and one of our Cassie, our new senior library assistant, are going to be elves, provided my elf costume shows up. And we also have a backup Santa, just in case Santa can't get here because the weather's so bad, because he's coming from Reno. So, so we've got all of these. As you can see, we've got some programs coming up. I don't have it on here, but we are doing another oral storytelling program on the 19th. And the person, our staff member who does these is named Nolan, and they're really good. They're really animated. Last time he had 4 people. The time before he had like about 10, I think, but what he wants to do is keep doing them. And he's a creative writer, and so he writes and then he gives it cold. And it's really very much like in the tradition of oral storytelling. And he's really good. So we're going to continue with that. He's going to be doing some programming for February for Black History Month is what he wants to do next. So. And then, last but not least, unless anyone has any questions about these things coming up, but our winter reading kickoff party starts on Saturday, and you can begin logging your minutes on Saturday. So, and you might even be able to get a prize. So if you come to the kickoff party, you get a swag bag. But if you complete, you get a really good swag bag, and you get a free book and other items. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have like our hot chocolate make and take event, and just some other fun activities. Winter reading is always smaller than summer reading, but we're hoping for a good turnout. We're hoping that Santa will be a success. And then last is the budget. Now, I lifted all of this directly from the finance department's Budget 101 training document that they provide. And I pulled out information that would be most relevant to us and what we would need to understand. So does anyone have any questions about this information?
I thought this would be a good idea to have too, so we kind of learn how all of this works. And I really appreciate you putting that in there. So I don't have any questions. It's more learning something.
Okay.
It does make me think to myself, what is our 5-year capital plan wish list that we're thinking about right now and next month due in early February?
That's good. That's a good question. What it has been is bathrooms, which we have a chunk of change in for that. They did approve our capital improvement project, but it's been on hold because of the city having so many other projects before us, and then also just finding folks that can do the work. I have had a capital improvement project listed for more cameras. And other than that, I'm thinking about what I think we should put on there. But because I also have been very conservative about asking for capital improvement projects because I wanted to have some years under our belt of us as actually contributing substantially to the capital improvement project fund. So I think we're there. And I think also, if not this year, next year, we'll have a very firm idea of what we should be asking for per the completion of our strategic plan. Because the goal of the strategic plan, part of the goal is to identify what our community is identifying that they want. And I can't imagine that there always is comments from users about building stuff. Now, some of them are, not going to be possible in a 60-year-old building. And we just have to think about that. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm definitely going to continue to ask for cameras. And
Does the circulation
That's
desk
it.
come under that capital improvement, or is it just a?
no, because it's not a fixed asset. However, there is the Nauman Foundation, and we're one of their selected potential recipients. So my plan is it's $10,000 if you get the whole thing approved. So my plan is to apply for that this year for a new circ desk.
If the circ desks were built in, would it be a capital improvement project?
It's tricky because it really depends on how we build it in. So like the shelving's affixed to the floor, but it can be moved. And I would rather we get a circ desk that can be moved if we need it to be moved. And as we move forward, because our new circulation supervisor, Allie Whipple, is on it, and she's like, we need a new circ desk. I said, well, you are preaching to the choir, my friend. And the whole staff is on board with it. And so I think we're there. It's another one of those things where I've analyzed the system, and now it's timed, and that, because of the way that I'm analyzing the system, it's a bit slow with change. And people, staff members, just in general, feel strongly about when things get moved. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was happy with the idea of a new circulation desk. And everyone has expressed that they want to get rid of the giant Legos were a great idea. They just never, I actually stumbled upon the marketing material for that circ desk, and it looked awesome. But it isn't. It looked awesome in their marketing materials. You have to go. Thanks, Mahela. So Yeah, I mean, we may be able to find a circulation desk that we think is suitable that would be totally affordable in the budget we have now. And Ally's going to be, she's actively researching that right now. But what we will do as well is move it forward, so we don't have that huge amount of space in the foyer. Or not the foyer, but when you walk past the foyer, through the foyer. So that we can also make more room. Because it used to be, so you know when you first walk in and that desk got moved way back to align with that glass side when the refurbishment took place in 2018. When I first started at the library, it was a much bigger circ desk and it was much more forward. There was, yeah.
Right.
And what I would, Fantasyland, now I can't say that all of this is going to come to fruition, but what I would really like to do, and my point of moving, the circ desk forward is not just so that we are utilizing that front space, but that behind us, we can bring some makerspace stuff out and show what we are making on our 3D printers and our heat press or whatever other items we might purchase with as far as it relates to the makerspace, so people can see some of the things that we're able to do with that equipment that's in the makerspace. Because we have 5 digital or 3D printers, so it would be no big deal to bring one out because we'd still have all the others back there to try and get some more interest in that equipment. So now I reserve the right to say this could all change. But these are my long-term thoughts.
Well, I appreciate them. Anything else?
No, not for
Okay.
me, sorry.
That's okay. Everybody's so
I
quiet.
thought you were looking at the other members.
I gotta wake everybody up. Okay. Alrighty, then let's move on to item number 6. Information only, board members' announcements and requests for information. Does anybody have a request for anything they want to see on the next agenda? Okay.
I do plan to add Tammy Westergaard to the next agenda to do a presentation on the workforce development. Y'all had originally asked for her to present at this meeting, but after Chair Nichols and I spoke, I stepped back from that so that to keep the meetings, in terms of time, more manageable.
Are we going to get an update on the strategic planning process?
Yeah,
Is that something that we might want to add to the agenda?
sure. Yeah, actually, you've read my mind. I'm actually in a conversation with Dr. Steinman. He sent me some information and we can discuss it. I mean, I think we've already decided that we did decide that we're hiring. And so once he and I have finalized the contract, then I will present the contract so we can see exactly and have dates as to when exactly we're going to start. It's going to go full steam ahead after the start of the new year because we are behind in terms of timing. It's not anything we can't make up, but I'd like to just get going.
Okay, great.
So.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Item number 7, public comments. Again, we have nobody here, so I think we can safely move on. And so item number 8, we are adjourned.